Mismanagement has left us far more vulnerable than would otherwise have been the case. Inflation, to which she refers, was bang on target when we left office. But thanks to the Right Honourable Lady's choices, it rose back up to almost 4% last year, the highest in the G7. And inflation remains.
Welcome back to the channel. Rachel Reeves has just faced a brutal showdown in the House of Commons, and the clash quickly turned into a fierce debate over inflation, energy prices, and the growing economic pressure on British households. During the exchange, the Chancellor was challenged over what critics call serious economic mismanagement, rising borrowing, higher unemployment, and the government's controversial approach to North Sea oil, energy security, and fuel duty. With the Iran conflict pushing global oil prices higher, warnings are now emerging about a potential inflation spike across the UK economy, and MPs are demanding answers. But what really happened in the Commons today? Which claims are accurate, and what did Reeves say in response? Because some of the exchanges in this debate were far more explosive than most media outlets are reporting. So in this video, we're going to break down the key moments from Parliament, the accusations against the Chancellor, and the response that has sparked a huge political argument over energy policy, taxation, and the future of the British economy. Make sure you watch until the end, because one part of this debate raises a question that could affect millions of households across Britain. And if you believe people should see what's actually being said in Parliament, share this video, hit like, and subscribe. The more these discussions spread, the harder it becomes for anyone to quietly bury them. Now let's take a look at what happened in the Commons.
But Madam Deputy Speaker, where we on this side of the House clearly differ with the Right Honourable Lady is in her approach to the economy in the run-up to this crisis. Her gross mismanagement has left us far more vulnerable than would otherwise have been the case. Inflation, to which she refers, was bang on target when we left office. But thanks to the Right Honourable Lady's choices, it rose back up to almost 4% last year, the highest in the G7. And inflation remains elevated. That is far from ideal, given the threat of a significant further spike in energy prices. And of course, extraordinarily, the Chancellor has just now reconfirmed that the government will press ahead with a rise in fuel duty later this year. And borrowing is running higher than was forecast when the government took office. We are spending well over £100 billion a year on debt interest alone. That leaves us far more vulnerable to rising borrowing costs. And the government, of course, is continuing to impose ruinously high taxes on our oil and gas sector and choosing to rely on imports instead of maximising our own domestic energy supply. That is proving to be an incredibly short-sighted approach. But as the Right Honourable Lady has just told us, there will be no change in direction. That is the wrong choice. And more broadly, of course, business confidence has hit record lows and unemployment has risen back to pandemic levels. So our economy is weaker as a direct result of this Chancellor. Now, last week, Madam Deputy Speaker, at the spring statement, the Right Honourable Lady had an opportunity to change course. But instead, we got no action at all. Just breathtaking self-congratulation and denial. She had a vital opportunity to come to this House with a plan to get the economy growing. But she did not do that. Not least because this week government have caved into their own backbenchers, who prefer higher welfare spending over fixing our economy. So today, let me reiterate our offer to support the government if, even at this late stage, and particularly given the gravity of the current global outlook, they do the right thing, show some backbone, and come forward with a proper plan to cut welfare spending and strengthen our economy so we can properly support hard-working families through this difficult time. This is the very least that the British people deserve. Finally, Mr. Speaker, could I ask the Right Honourable Lady, will she urgently reconsider her decision to implement the first increase in fuel duty in 15 years? Likewise, to urgently reconsider her decision to continue with the crippling taxes being imposed on North Sea oil and gas producers. On the Fingleton review on nuclear, can she clarify if the government is accepting all those recommendations as ministers previously committed to do? Can she give further details on what additional economic action is under consideration internationally if the conflict continues? What measures is the government considering to support households in the event of a sustained period of higher prices, and what action is being considered as part of the financial sector's work to support those reliant on heating oil? Are the government tracking the Iranian regime's illegal funding sources to ensure UK financial systems are not facilitating funds that are being used to support repression? And can she confirm that there is sufficient resource available in the Special Reserve so that our brave servicemen and women have the support they deserve?
The Exchequer.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank the Right Honourable Member for his questions. The Government believes that the best way that we can protect families and businesses from this conflict is through de-escalation. And we heard nothing in the Shadow Chancellor's response about what the opposition's view is on de-escalation. We believe that it's important that we get back to the negotiating table and don't escalate this conflict. I'm not that sure that that is the view of the opposition party. But we also know that commitment to greater energy security can help guard against shocks. And after inaction and delay from the Conservatives when they were in government for 14 years, this Labour government is committed to investing and building new nuclear, and that's why we're backing Sizewell C and also small modular reactors, both funded at the spending review, neither funded by the previous government, because this government is backing Britain's energy security. This Labour government is backing the industry of the future, such as carbon capture and storage, funded at the spending review, not funded by the party opposite, because we back Britain's energy security. And through the National Wealth Fund, we are investing in floating offshore wind and in our docks, funded in the spending review, not funded by the party opposite, because we back Britain's energy security. In 14 years, the Tories did nothing. So they failed when we needed new nuclear. They stood by and allowed the loss of gas storage facilities at Rough. They failed to fix the broken planning system to enable us to build renewables. And they had an effective moratorium on onshore wind, which is the cheapest form of energy. We are taking a different approach in the interest of our economy and energy security. On energy bills, I would urge the Right Honourable Gentleman not to scaremonger. The £150 cut to energy bills that I announced in the budget will continue, as confirmed by Ofgem. We removed the failed eco scheme and we removed a number of levies off of bills. On heating oil, those conversations will happen this week and we are working closely with MPs, with colleagues in Northern Ireland to make sure that things are working well. But the Minister at Desnes met with the heating oil sector on Friday and spoke this morning to the Competition and Markets Authority. There is not currently a problem with supply, but where members have individual issues around supply, they should make sure they get in contact with Desnes. On fuel duty would have risen by 8p compared to if I had have used the plans that I inherited. And we've had two budgets, both of which all of the parties opposite voted against, which extended that freeze in fuel duty. So it's a little bit rich now to hear the opposition saying that they want to reduce fuel duty when they vote against budgets that froze it. And on the energy profits levy, I think the Right Honourable Gentleman has a short memory because, of course, he was in the Cabinet that introduced the energy profits levy. And they introduced it for a reason, because of the windfall profits that were being made by the energy companies and the need to help consumers with bills, which is exactly what we have done. On the public finances, again, I'm not sure if the Right Honourable Gentleman listened either to my statement last week or my statement today. the deficit has reduced from 5.3% to 4.2% of GDP. It's the first time in 6 years that the budget deficit has been less than 5% of GDP. And in fact, in the 14 years that the Conservatives were in office, borrowing was higher than the G7 average. It is now lower than the G7 average, and it's coming down in every year of this Parliament. And on inflation, I'm not going to take any lessons from the party that took inflation to more than 11%. Under policy supported by the party opposite. And on welfare, I've got to say, for the former Work and Pension Secretary to say that we should be spending less on welfare, well, it would have been nice if it had done something about it when he was in charge. We are reforming the welfare system that they broke. And on Finkleton, we commissioned the Finkleton review because we are determined to build nuclear power, unlike the party opposite. On oil reserves, we have 90 days' worth of reserves of oil imports, and as confirmed by the G7 today, we will be making further announcements of that. On gas reserves, it was the party opposite that closed the storage facilities at Rough, and National Gas have confirmed today that our gas reserves are at a comparable level to last year and the year before that, and that the numbers being reported are utterly misleading because gas comes from a number of sources. It comes from the interconnectors, it comes from liquid natural gas, and it comes from our storage facilities. So again, I would really rather that the party opposite didn't scaremonger when people want certainty. On money laundering, of course, we have the very strictest rules around money laundering, and on the special reserve for defence, of course, we will make sure that the Ministry of Defence has all the money it needs for providing the support for our armed forces.
If you made it this far, you already know this is the kind of content you won't see properly broken down anywhere else. So don't just watch and scroll subscribe right now. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and become part of a growing community that refuses to miss what really happens inside these chambers. The algorithm only pushes what people actively support, so if you want more direct, unfiltered political breakdowns like this, you need to lock in. Subscribe now. Stay informed, stay ahead.